You're listening to The J with your host, Kennedy.
This is episode 107, and today is Tuesday, October 4th. And today's episode is a conversations episode where I interview Michelle Krusiec. And for those of you who are not familiar with Michelle Krusiec, I believe there are probably two shows which, back in the 90s, where some of you may have recognized her. One was a Saturday morning show on NBC called One World, and another one was a show called Travelers, which she was a host. Of course, there is one episode that a lot of fans may know her is through Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where she played Molly O'Brien in an episode called Time Orphan. But she, Michelle has appeared on, quite a bit of film and television shows within the past few years. A little background on Michelle Krusiec. She started her acting training at the Virginia Governor's Magnet School for the Arts and received a theater and English degree from Virginia Tech University. She completed additional studies at the University of Oxford and then went on to host 2 seasons of Travelers for the Discovery Channel, which took her to almost 50 destinations around the world. Within several months of completing Travelers, Michelle was a cast regular on NBC's Saturday morning series One World, in which she played the sporty yet sometimes spacey Sue Blake. Since then, Krusiec has left an indelible mark, playing an incredibly diverse range of roles with both recurring and starring roles on such hit shows as Cold Case, Without a Trace, Monk, and ER. As a recurring character, Sachiko on HBO's dark comedy The Mind of the Married Man, televised worldwide, Krusiec permanently introduced into the American lexicon the now infamous term happy ending. May 2005 will reveal Michelle's most recent film work, starring as the lead opposite of Joan Chen in the romantic comedy Saving Face. Will Smith's first producing foray into independent features, Saving Face premiered at the recent Toronto Film Festival and is expected to perform equally as well in this upcoming Sundance Film Festival 2005, garnering media attention for its unique storyline and strong performances. The film has been acquired by a very excited Sony Classics. Krusiec's other films credits include Sweet Home Alabama, Daddy Daycare, Duplex, Pumpkin, and yet to be released Cursed. Well-versed as a stage actress, Made in Taiwan is Michelle's autobiography. Now, this interview that you're about to listen to, this took place back, I think it was a day before Thanksgiving. And it was a time when she was driving, and she was off to pick up her new puppy. And so there are times when our audio kind of got disconnected between both her cell phone and my cell phone. So as an intermediary, you're going to hear Lisa, who is my daytime contact at NBC, fielding questions to her. So she can actually hear the questions at times. So that's the third person you'll be hearing on this interview. But anyway, here's my interview with Michelle Krusiec.
How are you?
Fine.
Great. Hello. I have on the other line. Okay, great. Michelle Krusiec.
Hello, Michelle. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm gonna have to apologize, but if you can shout a little bit, I'm on the road and it's hard for me to hear.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Thank you. You can scream.
Okay, the first question is that I read your bio that you were born in Fallon, Nevada.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Dennis.
Right. I read in your bio that you were born in Fallon, Nevada.
Yes, I was.
Were your parents in the military?
Were my parents what?
Was your parents in the military?
My father was in the military at the time, and there's a naval base out in the middle of the desert there.
Oh, okay.
Is that what the question was?
Yeah, pretty much. What kind of atmosphere were you brought up in?
What kind of what?
What kind of atmosphere were you brought up in? Was there a big Asian influence when growing up?
I was raised biculturally.
Okay.
I had an American father, a Chinese mother, and very adamant about making me aware of my cultural heritage.
Okay.
I was pretty much raised Chinese, but with American ideals, I would say.
I was wondering, how did you get involved in acting?
Well, it's kind of funny. I always wanted to, I always wanted to be on stage, whether it was singing or dancing or anything. I knew just when I was younger, I liked the attention of being on stage. And I used to have this little story I would tell my older brother. I told him that one day I would be discovered in a restaurant, and actually that's how I met my first agent. I was selling dim sum, and the very first agent I had happened to be happened to be a customer at this restaurant.
Oh, cool.
And she scouted me, and that's how it started. I didn't really start studying theater and acting, though, like legitimate, what I consider legitimate acting, until high school.
Okay.
That's when I joined an art school.
Okay,
And
cool.
that sort of started my career off in terms of acting. That was more about the business side of entertainment, but for me as an actor, it started in high school.
Okay. Let's talk about One World. How does it feel to play the character Sui? And is your character similar?
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Is your character in One World similar to you, or are you totally different from your character?
Is my character on One World similar to me?
Yes.
I would say that Sue has a lot of characteristics that we both share a lot of the same characteristics, and our priorities are different.
Okay.
What she enjoys are similar things to what I enjoy, but she plays them at different priorities than I would. She's a true teenager.
I was wondering, your part in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, do you have a lot of those Star Trek fans coming up to you ever since you played that part?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I get a lot of recognition from Trekkies on that show. I'm amazed by that, but it just goes to show you how many people watch Star Trek.
Okay. And the next question is, in the show The Travelers, what was her most memorable location, and has any freak things ever happened on the show?
I would say Ghana was probably one of the most memorable experiences I had, because it was so exotic and so new to me. Not only in my own experience living here in the States, but even after having traveled abroad, Ghana was by far one of the most unique experiences. It was the first time I experienced voodoo, like having a culture that worshipped, I guess we would define as, a voodoo culture. That was my very first sacrifice. I even was asked to drink from a sacrificial bowl that had goat's blood in it, and all kinds of specialties that the local witches had put into this concoction of mixes. I don't even know what was in there, but I was asked to really sort of put aside my own personal beliefs and expectations, and really take a part of the Ghanaian culture, and I really, really enjoyed that, because I like new things, and that's what traveling's all about. So Ghana was probably one of the most memorable experiences.
Okay. And does she enjoy watching herself on television?
Do you enjoy watching yourself on television? No, I don't like seeing myself, actually. It's a bit jarring. I tend to be a little bit too critical, and plus I have a mother who's always calling me and telling me I shouldn't wear my hair like that, or I shouldn't wear my makeup like that. So I tend to find that I may try and watch myself for my own observations as an actor, but it's very difficult to sort of separate myself from that. So I tend to avoid it when I can.
Okay. When she has free time, when she's not working, what does she like to do?
What do you like to do in your free time? I love to dance. I love any sort of dance. I really like African dance. That was one thing about Ghana, is that I really got to, take part of their their ritual dances, and I kind of like that whole primitive get down on the ground type of feel. It's very, very liberating.
Okay.
And, so whenever I can, I try and find a dance class, and it's just really exotic and foreign. I'm more excited about it.
If she had one word to describe herself, what would that word be?
Oh, if you had to describe yourself in one word, what would that word be? I would say fierce.
Feared?
Fierce?
Fierce?
Yeah, fierce.
Okay, and why is that?
Because I believe that if you are going to do something, you should do it intensely. If you're going to live life, you should live it fiercely. Whatever you're going for, you should go for it. And so I sort of take that attitude with everything. You know, sometimes it actually can be a little bit too much, but I try, you know, make the most of it. I sort of have this kind of fierce drive, and, you know, sometimes it gets me into trouble, but for the most part, I find that it's a quality that I really enjoy about myself. So I sort of take that approach with everything.
Okay.
I think you should live fiercely, love fiercely, and laugh fiercely. So, you know, it's like the 3 L's in life.
Okay.
Excellent.
Now, the next question is, I read that...
That's my little Confucianism. Michelle Confucius believes that you should live intensely, laugh immensely, and love fiercely.
That's great. That's great. I read that she's a big fan of extreme sports. Has she ever got injured from doing these things?
Oh, she read that you're a fan of extreme sports, and have you ever participated and gotten injured in anything like that?
Oh, thankfully I haven't. I just went skydiving, which was one of the most thrilling experiences I've ever had. I've never really been injured doing anything. I think the excitement of you know, extreme sports is really your anxiety and whether or not you can overcome it. And so, like with skydiving, I found, you know, the scariest part of it really was kind of overcoming my own inhibitions and my own mental hang-ups. I never really thought when I was doing it that I was going to die, which most people ask me, oh, weren't you worried about, you know, the parachute, you know, not opening up? But really, it was more about whether or not I could physically handle it, you know, whether or not I could kind of meet the challenge, and that's sort of the thrill for me when I can do some exciting things like that. You know, can I rise to this challenge? Can I confront my own fears and my own anxiety? That's what's thrilling to me.
Okay. The next question is a little bit more serious. What is the most satisfying and the most frustrating aspect about being an Asian actress?
Okay, what is the most satisfying and the most frustrating aspect of being an Asian American actress?
Probably the most frustrating, I'll start with that because it's probably the easiest to say, are obviously the typical roles. I think I've auditioned for more Asian masseuse girls than any other role ever. And they're all named Thai, and they all know karate. And so, you know, that's a little nerve-wracking when you encounter these roles that are so stereotypical. On the other hand, the advantages are that I think I am trying to make my own path as an actress who is Asian American. So I guess what I'm saying is that what's nice now is that these days I think that we are sort of finding new roles at the same time. Even though there are the stereotypical ones, there are new roles to be found, and you sort of have to be aggressive, and of course you have to have a lot of patience, because I do find that it actually is even more rewarding than say, if you're the average, you know, if you're just the average, I don't know, Anglo actor, the rewards may not be as great because the path there isn't as difficult as it is for an ethnic actor, because it is a very, very tough world and very, very, you know, kind of rambling here, but because it is sort of tough for actors in general. When I do find something that is rewarding, it seems to me to be even better than what I could ever hope for. So.
Okay. What are her professional goals for the future?
You couldn't get like 50 words or less on that answer.
It's a good question.
Because there are a lot of stereotypical roles out there, it is nice for me to find roles that aren't and that I can succeed at, such as Sue on One World. She isn't a stereotypical character. You wouldn't normally cast an Asian in that role, and so that was really appealing to me because she's not really, I don't really see her as a quote-unquote role model, but it's nice to be able to play a character whose ethnicity doesn't really matter. And in this case, her ethnicity doesn't matter. It's more about who she is as a person, her little quirky moments. So it is rewarding for me to start finding that there are these little barriers that I am trying to break through. Even though it's very slow, that's when it's most rewarding because it's a very tough process.
I was wondering what her professional goals for the future, aside from acting, if she has any.
Do you have any professional goals for the future, acting or otherwise?
I definitely would like to. This is, of course, in the long run of things. I'd like to start my own production company, and I would like to foster. I'd like to foster a lot of projects that really have or support Asian themes, because there is a really a great deal of support for that right now. I mean, there are so many people who want to start their own production companies, and so I'm not indifferent from that. However, I think the things I would like to support have a lot to do with my own culture. I don't think there are very many role models, and when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of that to look up to. So hopefully, I can provide that in some sort of artistic way that I can be proud of, not only as an educational way, but more of an artistic way, so that I can offer that. I can offer that.
Okay.
Because of my own experience, my own personal experience, but that I can foster that from other Asian artists as well.
Okay.
But I also don't want to just stick to that as well. It is something I think that is needed, so I would like to support that. But on the other hand, I think in order for us to achieve any growth, we sort of have to look beyond, our own limitations. I can't just focus on the Asian thing all my life. I can support it as best as I can, but I also have to look beyond that too.
Okay.
Because hopefully the bigger picture isn't just about that.
Okay. What encouraging words of advice would you like to give to Asian Americans who want to pursue a career in acting?
What encouraging words of advice could you give Asian Americans who would like to pursue acting?
I find that growing up, individualism in the Asian culture is often ignored. And so I would suggest that for Asian Americans to look inward within themselves versus the constant unit of the family. People tend to forget who they are, because our culture is it's such a headstrong culture. We tend to think right, we tend to act right versus feel. And if you can find what it is that is most expressive about your own self, beyond anything, and then work from there, I think that's a really beautiful place to start, at least.
Okay.
And then everything else kind of falls into place. I think sometimes I find with myself, I was raised to work backwards, go for the success versus the personal happiness. You kind of want to find the mold before you actually create it. So I would say that if you can find that sort of inner happiness as to how you can express yourself the most happily. I mean, I guess that I guess that's probably what I would suggest.
And you just listened to a sample of my interview with Michelle Krusiec. You can find more of this interview by going to www.nt2099.com/interviews in caps. So check that out. And I want to thank everyone for listening to another episode of JENT Radio, the podcast edition. All in all, have a great week. So I'll talk to you later.
Visit JENT on the web at www.nt2099.com/J-ENT and email JENT Radio at nt2099@gmail.com. See you next time.